Hello viewers and welcome to Daily Politics on Trust TV. On this program, we discuss issues around politics, policy and governance. I'm Hamza Idris. President Bola Tinubu has received the recommendations of the National Committee on Livestock Reforms with a determination to secure land in 7 northern states bedeviled by the existential farmer-herder conflict for the construction of cattle colonies aimed at transforming the livestock industry and putting an end to the protracted clashes between the two groups. Although successive governments in the country have initiated similar moves to address the lingering conflict, which is as a result of struggle for space between farmers and pastoralists, such efforts did not yield the desired results. In a renewed move, the National Committee on Livestock Reforms, which x-rayed the issues around the conflict, suggests the need for the establishment of Livestock Ministry for effective implementation of the recommendations which prompted the federal government intervention. The initiative has, however, generated outcry by some farming communities. How does the pastoralist view the recent policy intervention? Can the planned construction of cattle colonies, as it is with some African countries, solve the age-long farmer-herder conflicts in Nigeria? What value can it add to the multi-billion-dollar struggling livestock industry and, by extension, dairy production? We now have in the studio to discuss this and more. Baba Ngazarma is the national chairman, Miete Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Good
and viewers, thank you for joining us. I'm Hamza Idris. We'll take a short break, and when we return, the conversation commences. Don't go away. Yes, welcome back. Yes, Baba, last week, on Friday, we invited your Director of Strategic Engagement and we opened the lines, for Nigerians to ask questions about this renewed hope from President Tinubu and then renewed initiative from you. But many of those who called, they had contrary opinion. They feel that Ministry of Agriculture suffices. There is no need for Ministry of Livestock Development. And that is why we said we will start this week by actually inviting you to also shed more light on this very important issue. Why Ministry of Livestock and why that committee? Who formed that committee? What happens to all the other committees that you had and could not yield any result?
Salaam alaikum. Mr. Hamza, thank you for having me once again. You see, this Livestock Reform Committee was established by Governor Ganduje when he was the governor of Kano State, out of concern and desire to provide solution to the lingering farmer-herder conflict that has been in existence for decades in this country. A lot of other solutions, policies, and so many other things were brought about, but up till now, the government cannot find a solution, proper solution to these issues. So it is out of this concern, I suppose, Ganduje decided to have another committee to have a look at all the other policy documents, all the other recommendations made, and some of the new things that are coming up to add up to the problem of livestock development in this country. So it's a committee that was put up under the leadership of Mahmoud Jega, the former INEC commissioner.
Okay, INEC national chairman.
INEC national chairman, Professor Atahiru Jega.
Okay, he led the committee.
He led the committee as its chairman, and the committee has about 30 members, cutting across tribal, ethnicity, and what have you. What was done was to select carefully professionals and experts in the livestock sector to come and help develop, come up with a document that can provide solution to these lingering issues. So if you go through the membership of the committee, you realize that every aspect of livestock professionalism is being captured by...
You are talking about hide skin,
by their committee.
talking about dairy.
Every aspect, genetic, these things, anything that has to do with livestock has been captured. Experts were identified and brought as members into that committee. So it was those experts that have developed the document that was presented to Mr. President last week.
You were one of those who actually participated, right?
I was.
You were at the presentation.
I was, as a major stakeholder, I was. And so many other stakeholders like me. The All Farmers Association of Nigeria Leadership is also a member of the committee, cutting across all agricultural interests to the committee. So everybody is just there. So that document that was put in place, I think, is about one of the most comprehensive documents.
What makes it more comprehensive?
Not only livestock, but some aspect of agriculture in general. Is comprehensive in the sense that, because looking at the membership of the committee, one will accept that experts had been identified and brought in to contribute their own quota in trying to solve the lingering farmer-herder conflict in this country. Okay,
you suggested to the president, Ministry of Livestock. How committed was he to that?
Well, the commitment shown by the president that day was what made us so excited. So we feel the president is all out to solve the conflict, the farmer-herder conflict in this country. And this is not the first time that President Bola Tinubu is involved in doing this kind of thing. Even before he became the president of this country in 2018, he facilitated a conference of 2 days sponsored by the nation newspapers, where experts were also brought in to discuss the conflict between herder and farmer in 2018. So this time around, as the president, when this document was presented to him, he accepted it wholeheartedly and showing passion and concern and the interest to solve this problem. That was why me, as the national president of the umbrella body of the pastoralist groups, which is the Métis Allah Cattle Breeder Association, I felt that day marked the beginning of the renewed hope for all the Nigerian pastoralists in this country, because he has made statements that has given us a lot of hope that yes, we think, unlike the other administrations, we now have somebody who is all out to try to provide a solution to this lingering farmer-herder conflict in Nigeria. Okay, you had our conversation on Friday, as I said, quite a number that called. Of course, there are some who supported establishment of livestock, but others said, why not strengthen the department under Ministry of Agriculture? Do you see the coming of this ministry as something different, and what will it do differently? You see, the coming of the livestock ministry is very, very essential, considering the challenges that the livestock subsector is being faced with for decades, and considering the practice of most of the West African countries, where you always find livestock dedicated ministry to look into the problems of livestock in those countries. Most of these neighboring countries and most of African countries where you find livestock, you realize that livestock contribution to the GDP of those countries ranges from 30% up to around 55%. Wow. And all these countries that have this much of GDP contribution to the economy of the country have less number of livestock than Nigeria. Okay, some of these countries that have dedicated ministry. They have far less number of livestock than Nigeria. But here is Nigeria that contributes, here is Nigeria livestock, having large number than most of these countries that are contributing from 30 to 55%. In Nigeria, it is only contributing just around 10% to the overall GDP of the country. Why? And maybe it's at 5% to the agricultural value chain. So this is because of the neglect that is given the livestock subsector of the economy. In the 8 years of Buhari's administration, While we are talking of over 500 billion naira spent on agronomy, nothing much is being spent on livestock subsector of the economy. Go to the state government budgetary provisions under agriculture and see how much is budgeted to livestock. Come to the federal government's agricultural budget and see how much is budgeted for livestock. So it has been neglected despite the enormous potentials it has in providing employment, in providing revenue to Nigeria. So we are always talking of drawing the attention, we're always trying to draw the attention of the government to the enormous potentials that the livestock subsector has in this economy. If these potentials can be tapped properly, I am telling you, Mr. Hamza, a lot of employments will be created and a lot of revenue will come into the government coffers, because we have over 20 million livestock in this country, going by the 1991 livestock census, because that was the last time a livestock census was conducted in this country.
20 million.
Almost 20 years. So going by this, if this thing can be given the due attention it deserves, we feel it is enough. It will be next to petroleum in providing revenue to this country. So it's going to be beneficial to every Nigerian. We are not talking of the benefits that the pastoralists are going to get. No, we are looking at the benefits of what Nigeria can get out of this. It is unnecessary for government to spend $1.7 billion for just importation of milk into Nigeria. It's unnecessary, because even with the 3-5 liters that our cows give because of their nature, since we have a large number of cows, if these 3 to 5 liters can be taken properly by livestock processing factories, is enough to provide our milk needs in this country. What more if this subsector can be developed in a way that dairy can come out in a way that will have cows that can give not up to even 50 or 25 liters, that can give just 10 liters of milk per day per cow. If we can get this by improving our cows, it will go a long way in solving a lot of problems. It will go a long way in stopping government to spend one single penny for importation of milk into this country. So it is because of these potentials that we feel a ministry must be created for livestock so that these potentials can be properly tapped. And in addition, coupled with the challenges, look at the security issues we have in this country today that are associated to livestock producers. It has already become a national security concern. So because of this, we felt a mere department under the Ministry of Agriculture cannot be able to solve these problems squarely. We need a full-blown ministry that will be dedicated for all and every livestock aspect, so that the enormous potentials involved in this can be tapped for the benefits of all Nigerians.
Now, the pushback during the President Buhari administration by some states, it was about having even the grazing area that they can establish, whether colony or whatever name you have for it. Don't you entertain similar fear now? Or you think there are states with vast land up till today that if there is political will, this dream can be achieved?
You see, even under Buhari's administration, I think what stops that government from doing much about these livestock issues is because of the sustained media negative profiling of the pastoralists. This has been on for quite some time, and we believe some people out there are doing it deliberately to smear the reputation of the pastoralists in order not to allow government to come to their aid. So we felt it is because of this that government feared to do anything that has to do livestock. But this time now, what this current committee has done has a difference with other documents that were being presented, especially the National Livestock Transformation Plan is also another comprehensive document, but still, because of the lack of proper political will, not much was achieved as a result of this. So, you see, this administration, because of the commitment shown and the capacity exhibited by Mr. President, we feel if due attention can be given to the implementation of the report of this reform committee, we think a lot is going to be achieved, because this particular report is about reforming the livestock production in the country to intensive system where we can shift from the traditional system of livestock production that we have been dealing with for decades to a more intensive, more productive, more yielding system that can be of benefit not only to the pastoralists but to the Nigerian economy and to every Nigerian citizen, because this particular report involves the persuasion of the pastoralists to be settled in one place.
And that is a very key
That is issue. Very key. Under whatever name you give it. You can call it a ranch, you can call it an individual ranch, you can call it a community ranch, you can even call it a grazing reserve if you like. Whatever name
you give it. Can you also call it Ruga?
Because whatever name,
technical terms
yes,
that generate
whatever
a lot of
name you can give it. All we are out for is to have these pastoralists settled in a place so that the cows they have can be of benefit to the Nigerian economy. By doing this, even the southern parts of the country where most of the livestock owners that live there are always seen as strangers, even those areas stand to benefit a lot because they can venture into pasture production. If you can have a community ranch in a particular state or a particular local government in the south or southeast, for example, the government or that government or that local government can demarcate a particular area and call it a community ranch. The pastoralists will be willing to go there and stay, provided there is grass and water, and they will not mind to pay whatever money.
And the big question now, do you have the land? Does Nigeria have the land? Because as I said earlier, during the Buhari administration, during Jonathan, and even many administrations before them, some governors keep saying that the farmers are not actually ready for this kind of arrangement. Does the state have the land to accommodate this kind of initiative?
If you go to statistics, you discover that out of the land that we have that are free for agriculture in this country, not more than 30% is now being used for agricultural purposes and other purposes.
At present?
At present.
The available land for...
Nigeria has available land for agriculture, quite available. Go to the records and see. We have. Leave that aside. Come to the grazing reserves that we have in this country. We have about 415 of them that cover an area of about 5 million hectares of land.
In Nigeria?
In Nigeria. And they still exist. They exist. Out of this number, about 144 of them are gazetted. They have laws on them. They still exist. There are encroachments in them. But this number, if you can subtract the number of encroachment in all the grazing reserves, you realize it is not going to be more than 20 or 30%. We still have about 70 or 80% of our grazing reserves laying idle. They are not being patronized by the pastoralist owners. because they don't have water, they don't have grass. Because the dams that are there were not maintained, so they are all silted. Some have infrastructures like veterinary clinics, milk collection centers, nomadic schools. But all these infrastructures were allowed to dilapidate, they don't work.
Then where is the competition
silted.
Coming from, Baba? Where is the competition coming from? Because you see the herders saying their grazing land has been encroached. You did the farmers saying herders have, stormed their farmlands. So
yes.
Why is this competition?
The grazing reserves are being encroached on daily basis by farmers. This is true from the pastoralist side. But even at that, we still have grazing reserves that can be developed and the pastoralists be kept in those grazing reserves. What do they need? What is taking them down to the southern part of the country? They go to the south in search of pasture and water because the only thing they know is to roam the wild looking for pre-natural pasture to feed their cows. They were never educated on how to modernize their trade. While we are living in this era of development, these guys are still left in the past, still practicing the outdated system of animal husbandry that will not work again because the population is increasing and this population will continue to increase against a land that doesn't increase. This calls for an effective planning for the farmers and herders to coexist peacefully in a particular given area.
Then was President Buhari misled, Baba? Was President Buhari misled during his time? Because I remember there was time he said most of the grazing reserves have been taken over by outrageous population, a lot of buildings, and he said he's going to recover them. I know you remember that
I
time.
did.
A lot of uproar.
I did.
In the country. Was he misled to have said that?
You see, the problem is government is always, when governments are taking decision, the approach is always top-bottom. They just gather elites, educationists, to just do an academic exercise, come up with a document that will not do anybody any good. They are not involving the grassroots people. The approach is not always bottom-top. What you have is always top-bottom. That is why the mistake is. We have grazing reserves that are laying idle, but because they don't have grass in them, they don't have water in them, the pastoralists will not stay in them. They will have to move their cows out in search of grass and water because that is the only thing they know to do, because no attempt is being made to modernize their trade. No attempt is being made by the past succeeding administrations to educate them, to train them on how to improve on what they do. So while we are living in this era, they are still living in the past. So you see, the grass in those grazing reserves, immediately the rainfall started coming. After 2 or 3 weeks, when the new grasses begin to come out, the cows, because they are coming from dry season out of hunger, they will be forced to be feasting on the new grasses. And by feasting on them, they remove them from their roots. The grass were not allowed to grow drop seeds for next season. So this process made the entire grazing reserves bare. No grass, and all the dams are silted because of lack of maintenance. So they don't stay in it. They roam the wild looking for pasture as the only thing they know to do, because they don't know anything apart from that. It's not their fault.
Okay, finally, what will you advise the president to do in maybe bringing on board some governors that may not be really forthcoming because of political pressure in their domains?
The federal government now has a document. This is the document that is presented to Mr. President by the Ganduje or Jega committee, if you call it. Ganduje established the committee under the leadership of Professor Tahiru Jega, the former INEC chairman. So it is that committee that came up with this particular document and presented President Ahmed Bola Tinubu with it last week. So if this document is going to be implemented, that is why we are calling for the creation of a ministry dedicated for this purpose. We need to have a ministry for livestock, just like our counterparts in other countries. We need to have the Ministry for Livestock in order to tap the enormous potential the livestock subsector has in the economy. We need the Ministry of Livestock in order to have a dedicated ministry that can address all these non-kinetic measures associated with solving this security problem we have.
All right.
That is associated with pastoralist issues.
All right. Thank you very much, Baba Gezra. I wish we have more time to dwell more on this, but we are just starting. Definitely we'll continue to invite you to shed more light. Thank you very much for coming. All right. We'll take a short break, and when we return, another conversation commences. Don't go away. Welcome back. If you are just joining, you are watching Daily Politics on Trust TV. Do well to follow the conversation across our social platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and watch us live on YouTube. Also joining us for today's conversation is Honorable Sani Moody. He is the spokesman of Jamaatul Nasri Islam in Plateau State. He was at different times Deputy Chairman of Jos North Local Government, Supervisory Councillor of Works, and most recently Special Advisor to Governor Simon Lalong on Islamic matters. He joins us to discuss the state of affairs in the northeastern state of Plateau, ranging from the protracted ethno-religious conflict and peace-building efforts and the concerns generated by the ongoing distribution of 500 million naira palliative to those affected by the latest round of clashes in the state, which was provided by the Office of the First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Senator Oluremi Tinubu. It is our pleasure to have you on our platform.
Thank you very much.
Yes, maybe I should just start with the issue of security. So far, how far in Plateau State?
Well, thank you. Well, so far, not so good. Not so cheering news from what is happening in the state, especially in the central zone, where we've been having killings around Mongo area and other places there. It's very unfortunate that the government that has come into power in the last, that has been in power in the last 100 and so days has not been up to the task in terms of addressing the issue, has not risen up to expectation, really. So it's a very sad...
I know we invited you here, as spokesman of JNI, community leader in his own right, and someone who had participated in many security reports. We invited you, security meetings. Yes. We invited you ahead of the inauguration, and you set a kind of agenda for the governor. Is it that he's not following that template left by his predecessor, or there is a problem somewhere?
Yes, surely he's not following the template led by his predecessor. I gave that advice hoping that the state, in the hope that, of course, as a citizen of that state, I will always have best wishes for the state, for whoever is in charge of affairs, at the helm of affairs there. We thought the governor will be alive to his responsibility in handling matters in the state dispassionately. Unfortunately, it is not so. So we gave him the benefit of the doubt at the beginning, thinking that he will be a...
And you think 100 days is such a long time for someone to be assessed, or you think he's still settling down?
Someone can be assessed in 30 days as far as leadership is concerned, except if you are not prepared for it. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu made a remarkable impact on the first day of his inauguration, on the day of his inauguration.
But people are still paying for some of the decisions.
No, we'll come to that. But we are talking of Plateau State.
Yes.
For somebody who is an indigene of that state, who has been in the scheme of affairs of that state, he has been a local government council chairman. So he must have been, he must have prepared before even trying his hands on the governorship. He must have an agenda. What that agenda is for, we don't know, but we are seeing that it is contrary to our expectations, or to the expectations of the people of the state, including even those who voted for him. I'm sure most of them are disappointed by now.
Where is the problem coming from now? Because from the time of election to this day, I don't have the figure, but I have read it, a lot of numbers, here and there. Number of people killed, number of people displaced. Are you also worried that things are actually going back to the 2001 era in Plateau?
Yes, really worried that things are going back to those unfortunate days of violence and killings on the Plateau. The issue is that it seems that as I said, the governor is not prepared for it, and maybe he doesn't even want to take advice. If I may recall, when the incident started in Mongu, His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in his statement, or in a statement by his special advisor, called on the governor to engage all stakeholders in dialogue with a view to finding lasting solutions to this. He specifically mentioned that groups like ACF, Area Consultative Forum, GNI and CAN, who have played key roles, very strategic roles in the past in terms of peace building in the state. The governor never heeded to that advice, because I know as a stakeholder that up till date, no such dialogue has ever been convened by the governor, either within the locality, Mongu, or within the state in general. And things are continuing, to happen.
To deteriorate.
Deteriorate is
it the fear of the tribunal? Because he's actually involved in cases, at the tribunal.
Well, let me use the words of former President Goodluck Jonathan, that no election is worth the life of a citizen of this country. So the case of tribunal or whatever is not worth the life of one citizen of Plateau State. So if I may say it, the governor is derelicting on his duty.
Are you saying this with all sense of responsibility, or as a chieftain of the APC? Because I know you were part of the presidential campaign.
Sometimes we look at things dispassionately, politics aside. When it's a matter of life, when it is a matter of progress and well-being of the citizens, you have to put politics aside. Even when your own party is doing the wrong, you have to say it. But this time around, it is somebody that from the opposition. Of course, we never believed his party and can do or will do well for Plateau in view of the circumstances and what we've done. If their intention is to remove the structures of peace building that Lalong has entrenched on the Plateau, of course they will surely take Plateau backwards.
Where are the elders that's supposed to, of course you are one of them, but where are the other
I learned
that
that
speaking out?
I learned that they had called a meeting of elders one day, and it was not really palatable. What happened, he was confronted with issues by the elders as to what really, he wanted them to do. There were no answers, as I learned. I wasn't there, but I knew that,
so
it was a belated move, actually.
Yes, if I ask you to now rate the performance of the Plateau PDP government, because we will invite them here to also give their own side of the story. How will you rate them? Well,
I will rate them as 0. Virtually 0. Nothing on ground. And then, of course, in terms of governance, especially in a state with that kind of diversity as we have in Plateau, I will say they have failed.
But they are also saying they could not do much believing that they have done enough within 100 days because of the failure of Lalong administration?
Let me tell you, within this 100 days they have been in office, they have received almost 12 months equivalent of subvention that Lalong received in his last 1 year. Within this 100 days, these 3 months, the subvention they receive, the grant they receive, subvention they receive from the federation account is worth about 1 year's grant of Lalong. The last 1 year especially. I can tell you this.
And you didn't see anything on ground?
Of course, nothing on ground, nothing commensurate.
Maybe he's trying to put his house together. He just had his commissioners, not quite long. Not up to
what does it take to put a cabinet? What does it take to put a cabinet? What does it take to put a cabinet? Does it require money to put a cabinet in place? It doesn't require money. It goes with a selection of people, sending the list to the House of Assembly for confirmation.
There is this hashtag, especially in Plateau, tribunals, is it on trial? This hashtag.
Well, for everybody contesting for election, you must be prepared for tribunal. Either when you win, somebody will take you to tribunal and petition against your victory, or when you lose, you take somebody. For every contestant in an election, you make 2 preparations. When you win, you will prepare for, of course, petition against your win. When you lose, you will prepare, because in the course of the election, you are looking at every nook and to find where there are lapses in case you lose, in case you are cheated out of it, rigged out of it, so you can have grounds for petition.
Some of us that are students of politics, I mean, we report politics.
Yes.
I've realized that there are like 3 tribunals in Plateau. I don't know, I may be wrong, but some are they are sacking the PDP candidates, I mean winners. Some are sacking the other side, that is APC. And then we are now awaiting for the governorship election. For instance, the National Assembly petitions in Jos, it sacked a member representing Jos South, not Jos East, right? Federal constituency.
Yeah.
That is Bagos. And it's Lantan, Lantan South counterpart for lack of structure. What does that mean?
There was another one there also.
Of course, we have
the senator
it gave it
from the
to,
Southern Zone,
of course,
and then the member
representing Plateau South, right? That is Bali.
And then the member representing Bali Kiladi from Federal Constituency.
Yes, it's getting confusing. This one is saying...
It's not really confusing. It's a very straightforward matter.
Okay.
In the course of let me be brief because we have no time.
Yes.
In the course of their disagreements in PDP around 2020, they were about convening the State Congress of the party in March, I think, 2020. There was this agreement, and one of the groups, factions, took the matter to court. And at the end of which, of course, they got a ruling by the court, a judgment by the court that, yes, the Congress as conducted by the other faction was wrong and illegal. So all officials produced through that arrangement are deemed illegal since there was a court pronouncement. That's number one. And then sequel to that, there were, there was election into local government councils. And then that illegal contraption called State ESCO brought forward a list of candidates for the local government elections. And then, of course, the State Independent Electoral Commission was averted to the fact that, look, there was a court judgment against this ESCO. So whatever they do, it's deemed illegal. And then, based on that, the State Electoral Commission refused to accept this list from that contrived, The PDP now took the PLASEC to court, wanting the court to declare their own, list as, authentic, and then, of course, they compelled the State Electoral Commission to accept the list and then let them be allowed to contest for election. And then the court again ruled against them. So you can see a second round of judgment against them. The court said, no, go back and obey the instruction of that code, which earlier said that you should reconvene a state congress, a properly convened congress. From what? To the state. That's why it is. They didn't. So they are now in defiance of two courts. Initially, it was one, and another court reaffirmed that they must obey that court order.
So are you now saying that they don't have structure?
Of course, as far as the law is concerned, they don't have structure on ground in Plateau State. So they continued using that structure to produce delegates for election. And it was the same delegates that now produce these candidates to state and national assembly, including the governor. So you can't build on nothing. As far as the law is concerned, that structure amounts to nothing.
Then where did the other tribunal, I mean, it's one, but you know, the teams, you know, we have separate teams, that they upheld some of these elections.
Well, I think since the matter is sub judice because it's appeal, I don't want to comment on what the other court did.
Okay, yes. Now the governor removed local government chairmen.
Yeah.
They were brought back by the certain court, right? Yeah. But still things are not normal in Plateau. In brief, what would you say on this?
That tells you the mindset of the governor. He's a perpetual, lawbreaker. Of course, he's always been defiant of court orders.
Honorable.
Let me say it, because as a lawyer, unfortunately for him, lawyer with over 30 years experience, he shouldn't be seen to be in defiance of court orders at all times. He should be in the vanguard of championing the cause of law, rule of law in particular. And he saw on oath to defend the Constitution, and this is the very Constitution that is defined, because any violation of the law is a violation of the Constitution by implication.
Some are saying he learned this act from your governor, your former governor, Lalong, whom you served under, because he too removed local government chairman during his days. Is that correct?
At that time, he had power to do it because there was no ruling. Because what the governor is doing now, first, there are so many things. One, there was a Supreme Court order against caretaker committees. When Lalong did, there was no order like that. Second, the Constitution, there have been amendments or laws to entrench the powers of the local government system, to guarantee the local government system. That is its constitutionality. That is, I think, the effort by Buhari to ensure that they have financial autonomy. So all these are things that happened after Lalong did. And immediately Lalong did, he went ahead and put in process machinery for elections into local government council, which was done later.
Are the circumstances different?
Very, very different.
Okay, maybe you shed more light on that.
But the difference is that, as I said, when Lalong did that one, the law allows it. It was so flexible that the state... But did the chairman add when he removed them? The state government shall make law, or the state House of Assembly shall make law for the existence of the local government. Since that was the provision in the Constitution, it was the leverage, for the state government was at leverage to put in place whatever structure, as far as it's in compliance of a law made by, in compliance with a law made by the House of Assembly. So it was a law made by the House of Assembly, and I remember it kept extending the tenure because it was just for 6 months, and after every 3 months initially, I think, after every 3 months, then if there was need, it was renewed. That was how it continued. It was not a perpetuality as this one is seemingly trying to do.
Yeah, has he given any reason?
So far, he's not been speaking to the people of the state. So what reasons will he?
Has he not been staying in Jos?
Well, we don't see him in functions. I don't know. They always say he's in Abuja because
now some of the local government chairmen, I think a few weeks ago, they have gone back to their offices. But have they started operating, or they are still finding it difficult?
Well, the system is such that the state government controls what you call the unified structure of workers in the local government. That is, the senior staff from level 7 and above are deployed by the state, employed and even deployed by the state government. So it has power to remove them or to ask them not to work with the chairman. So that is probably the situation we're having. It's a kind of a debacle, in which, neither here nor there.
And what will be the way forward as far as this matter is concerned? The way forward is for the state
government to accept, the position of the law as it is, that they have no power. The governor has no power to remove democratically elected structures. Just as in his own case, the president has no power to remove a governor. Even the House of Assembly that has that power must follow a process. There is a process you have to follow. And the governor must respect that, or should respect that. It's constitutional. I think once that is done, we'll live in peace.
All right. Another disturbing issue in Plateau that took, quite a number of pages, last week was the palliative taken there by wife of the president to the tune of 500 million. Contradictory, statements on that. What is the real issue? What really happened?
There is nothing contradictory. It is 500 million naira. Even before the First Lady went there was a statement from her office that the Renewed Hope initiative will provide 500 million naira to 500 families as assistance. 500 families among displaced, communities.
Which is really not bad, right?
Yeah, it's really not bad. In fact, it is even inadequate, but then it's a good move.
What I mean, if they will get 1 million?
Yeah, I say it's a good move.
It's been a very long time when I heard of something like that.
Of course, that's very good. It's a very welcome development. And we're all happy thinking that, of course, it will bring some respite to affected communities because we know the situation, how hard it's beaten. But unfortunately, when the First Lady went first, her visit was even, kept as a kind of, nobody was informed that the First Lady will be visiting Plateau. I know, for instance, that the JNI as a stakeholder was not invited. Somebody called to say they were there at the government house, and then the First Lady is coming, and he saw a seat tagged JNI, but nobody was seated on it.
At the venue of her reception.
And we said, no, we can't come because it is right inside the government house. We have not received invitation, so we cannot just intrude into government house and say we've come for a function that we are not invited. But then we got reports afterwards that, of course, the First Lady went, and then a check was handed over to the governor, and then that check of 500 million naira, and then along with a list of people that were, supposed to be the beneficiaries. And when we saw the list, we saw that it was a very, very biased list. It is unfortunate that the mindset of some people in government is still tailored towards that kind of exclusion, even in matters affecting, life and death, where people that have been, affected by, conflict, severely affected, and of course, with a lot of damages and losses of lives, structures, and wounds sustained, will be excluded.
There was this allegation, a statement from the government house, yes, dismissing that list.
The list came in a brochure for the program. It's an official document, and we must take it for what it is. I am sure they must have provided that list to the First Lady even as a condition for the release of that check, that you go and do a profiling of those affected and then, of course, produce a list. That is what they did. But then it goes down to one funny thing. One funny aspect of it is that this conflict was supposed to be a conflict between a group or two groups that differ in terms of their orientation, Christians. Now you have a list that is entirely a Christian.
The whole list?
The whole list.
You mean there was no single...
We were able only to identify 2 or 3 names there. Now, supposing it goes like that, are you trying to say that it is Christians that fought against Christians and killed themselves? That will be very unfair to even the Christians themselves. Very, very unfair to even the Christians themselves, if that is the assumption by them, or that's what they are trying to portray. But if you say 2 groups within the state, within the communities in the state fought, and then, of course, there are losses and damages. Obviously, as a government, you must treat these 2 groups fairly if you are trying to provide any palliative or assistance to them. So I think even, I'm sure, I'm happy I have seen some Christians, even though I have not seen it publicly, but in private conversations, they are even against the list. They are saying it's not even fair. Because it portrays them as if they are the only volatile group fighting against themselves and killing themselves.
So what is your call to wife of the president?
Well, I am sure, with all due regard and respect to Her Excellency, the First Lady, she had not gone through that list. Probably they just provided it there right on the spot. Is there any room for improvement, or you think she should call there should be a room for improvement. The Hope Initiative Foundation is still here in Abuja. I believe they still have resources to take care of whatever adjustment that is needed and address the imbalance. What is finally your call to the Muslim community in Jos and Plateau State in general? To continue to live in peace. All these injustices notwithstanding, our religion enjoins us to live in peace and to trust in God, have faith in God. And with that, all things will be possible, inshallah. All right, thank you very much, Honorable Sani Mudi, spokesperson of Jamaatul Nasrul Islam in Plateau State.
for coming to the program and for your informed perspective. We hope to have you again.
Thank you very much.
And thanks for tuning in to today's program. We sincerely hope you found the conversation engaging and informative. Be sure to join Daily Politics Live, airing every weekday from Monday to Friday, with a special edition every Friday during these special editions. We welcome your active participation, as you can call in to share your valuable thoughts on pressing issues in the polity. Once again, thank you for watching, and we look forward to having you join us again. Bye-bye. I'm Hamza Idris.